What's up? This is Vince Carter. You're listening to the 3-Point Conversion. Check it out.
What up? What up? What up? What's going on? It's your man Raphael Haynes, AKA Mr. Controversy. Did you miss me? And this is another special edition of 101. And man, I have a special guest tonight. First of all, two-time NBA champ, three-time three-point contest champ, probably top three shooter of all time, Mr. Craig Hodges. How are you doing today, sir?
No, brother. First of all, just thank God for giving us an opportunity to meet and speak during this crazy time. And everybody's well, and just thank God and hope everybody is well everywhere else.
Yes, sir. Man, it's definitely a difficult time and in this country right now. I mean, it's been like this for a while, but everything is coming out, and with, of course, Mr. George Floyd, and then even Breonna Taylor, Ahmaud Arbery, but then everything that happened after that, with the protesting and everything. Just a tough time right now, And first of all, I want to ask if you can give your thoughts on everything that's going on right now.
Well, of course, giving condolences to all of the freedom fighters that have fallen over the recent years, not just Brother Floyd and Aubrey, but, Breonna, but they're part of a fabric of freedom fighters who have paid the ultimate sacrifice for us to be able to move forward as a people. And in gratitude of them, we have to make sure that we pick up their mantles. And I'm in Chicago right now. We lost a great brother this morning by the name of Dr. Conrad Worrell, who was a scholar and professor and mentor. And I'm 59 years old. I've known the brother since I was 18 years old, and we lost a great scholar today. And to be blessed to have known him and to know the impact that he had. I look at the sacrifices not only that he made, but the people that we spoke of earlier. It's part of a liberation. I feel, man, it's a liberating feeling that's going on. Alongside of the drama and the chaos, there's a certain freedom that's going on among our people, and I think it's just a matter of us being mature in our strategies moving forward.
Yes, sir. No, I definitely agree. And it came out today that the 4 cops involved in the killing of George Floyd, they moved their charges up to second-degree murder. Do you believe that happened basically because of the protests that's been going on all over?
It's similar to what happened here in Chicago with the Laquan McDonald shooting. And it took brothers who were scholars and researchers to find out the evidence and be able to bring the evidence to light, because it wasn't going to happen through police or justice department. So once again, it's the impact of people power and people being able to fortify themselves, unify themselves, and are able to make a difference among the lives of their fallen. So, and there's no doubt in my mind that the impact, and not only the impact socially of what we made through protest and demonstration, but on the other side of it, the economic impact of the losses of these big corporations. They have to look at their bottom lines, and we have to understand how economics have a certain place in this country. In fact, slavery was economics. So when we look at the economics of Black people and moving forward and the economics of it all, it's not surprising that they brought those charges. But once again, it should be first-degree murder. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And until we have that level of a playing field where, when our children die, we get the same level of justice, the same level of recompense and like. So it's one of those things where we can't be shortchanged any longer. And the masses of people understand that and realize that it's not only a matter of Black Lives Mattering, but it's a fact of historically what we turned a blind eye to.
Right. I definitely agree. And with all the protests, some people you hear a lot of, well, you hear some people say they're not with tearing up your own city,
Right.
or the your local neighborhoods. But then
Yeah.
again, some people saying, look, we tired, this is what happens.
Right.
How do you view that position? Because I know, like in Atlanta, they
Well,
tore up downtown more so than those neighborhoods.
right, right. Yeah. And once again, I say that, we've studied enough history, especially your generation of young brothers and sisters who are in this social millennial generation. They studied enough history to understand how, the impact of burning up your own place where you live, it affects your family and the like. But at the same time, there's a certain amount of lashing out. There's a certain amount of espionage going on with it, as far as people who are infiltrating it to make it look as though it's a some type of Antifa movement or some madness, so that the military can lash out. But what we have to realize, and from me being 59 years old, being a baby of the civil rights movement, having had a chance to study under some of the brightest minds at Long Beach State, I see it for what it is, that it's a day of reckoning coming, and that, we have pleaded and we have tried to legislate this thing, and no one wants to give compensation where compensation is due, where African people are concerned. And now there's a certain vibration going on worldwide of people who feel the pain of the African people on the globe. And it's something like never happened before. People can talk about, oh, we've been there before. Nah, we haven't been at this place before. I can tell everybody, and I was here when Dr. King was murdered, and I saw tanks in the street in Detroit, and us going on a summer trip to Montreal for, a family road trip, and seeing tanks in the street in Detroit, having to get on the floor in a hotel in Detroit because they were shooting. I saw the difference, where I see where there's not as much turning on ourselves as it is we're seeing who the real oppressor has been over time. And now with with the advent of the social media, man, people are galvanizing in a way that's never happened before. And those who have been oppressive in their power base are feeling that heat, because they're seeing a whole different thing, and because it's a difference when it was just black people, but now it's young white people.
Right.
So when they go home and have these discussions at the dinner table with their dad, who may work for a Fortune 500 company, it's a whole different paradigm than it was in the 60s. So I realize it for what it is. It's a, divine karma, man.
Yes, sir. And the athletes right now, you spoke of social media and everything, and you see the athletes today, a lot of athletes protesting, um, big, that's good. Like, I know with what you did and when you were protesting, it wasn't a lot, that a lot of people that really was there with you as far as the NBA
Right.
and everything. But and today with something like this, and like you said, we've never, I guess, been through anything like this. But yet still, how good does that do your heart to see this?
Oh man, I was blessed to. Dr. John Carlos is my hero. So I had a chance to speak with him about a week ago, and he told me how good it felt for him to see me go to the White House and stand on what they had planted seeds in. So he felt that I was one of the seeds they had planted during the 60s. And when I see this, I see it as now that seed is starting to blossom into a full-blown tree, where now we have the ability to stand on our own. That now all of the freedom fighters, all of the sacrifices, and now we see it coming together. And it's never too late, man. So for me, I applaud the young brothers and sisters who are athletes and entertainers who see the need to be a part of it. But once again, I would say to all of us that in wisdom, don't go out without a plan. Because when I look at, a lot of the demonstrations that are going on when we were younger, and during the movement, we had strategies during those marches, that we understood who was doing what at a given point in time. Where a lot now is more at will, and let's go see what happens, as opposed to a strategic planning. And I think we're right there, man. And this type of program is indicative of where we are as a spiritual people.
Yes, sir. With the social media and the fact that you can tweets, go on IG, do you think, I know, and I always say this, even not as far as with protesting or speaking up, but just with anything, athletes can use that now because in a sense, we call it, you can hide behind, not hide, but you can be behind a computer, like they don't see you. But do you think because of that, do you think back then, if it was like this in 90s when you came up, do you think you would have more people speaking up?
I think we wouldn't be, once again, it's not, time is what it is. We're where we are. But I think certain things would be possibly different. We can hindsight it. It's similar to the arguments that we have about the GOAT and all that. But to me, it's about the lessons for me of attempting to organize in the 80s and 90s. And now when I see where I'm at 2020, I see the level of maturity that was required to be where I am today. And that level of maturity wasn't ready in the 90s. And I liken it to where we are as a people. When I asked Magic and MJ to boycott in 1991 after the beatdown of Rodney King, no one wanted anything to do with me.
Right.
And now they're both front and center. And I applaud that. I applaud that because I'm nobody's judge, but all I can do is what I can do as a human being and bring forward, the information that I have at a given time and work with the resources that I have, But I'm glad to see that MJ made a statement. Once again, it's like you say, it has to be a visible unity that's needed now, where our people need to see us and they need to feel where we're coming from, not soundbite it, not statement it, not hide behind this medium, but to actually, and see, that's what's cool for me, man. I was blessed to have this as part of my DNA. So it's not a thing of becoming involved. No, man, it's just like my jumper. You know what I'm saying? It's my, now my jump shot at 59 isn't what it was at 25, but now these type of strategies are my crossovers and my behind the backs and the alley-oops is how can we unify, and the challenges required in that is fun, in fact, because now we know that we already crossed the finish line. So I was listening to Barack earlier and him doing a Zoom call, and he says, you have to remember that this is a marathon. We've been told that this is a marathon for 400 years.
Right.
All right, now, my answer to all of this is that with the death of Brother Floyd, these past brothers and sisters who have gone on to paradise, they crossed the finish line for that marathon for us. So we ain't in no race no more with nobody, whether you be white, black, red, brown, we ain't racing no more. The marathon is up. Now it's about the reconstruction, the rededication of our history, and dedicated to the elders who sacrificed, like the ones that have just passed, as well as those who have gone on 500 years ago. There's no difference. And we have to make sure that when a brother like MJ and Magic, do y'all see that there is no difference between a beat down? One just happened to survive and the other didn't. But why wasn't it valuable at that point to say anything when you were at the height of your time? What, did you not see it? Did it not appeal to you? And why now? Is this one of the things that we young brother like you, don't allow this to be no fad. Don't allow brothers who ain't been saying jack to come on saying something as though now, but who is pushing you to say what you're saying now? Are you saying that to get back in contact with people who you know handle your paper? Because if we boycott all these shoe companies, they're gonna have an issue with some of these endorsers by, hey, see, y'all need to go say something and get y'all people back in here. And that's what I'm always leery about, is if you ain't say nothing in 91, you didn't see that? Why not? Why not? And I ain't judging nobody. And we all come to this consciousness on our own.
Right.
But you have enough money at that point in time to research this thing soon as it happens, to be able to talk to it on a righteous level. But it's, brother, like I said, once again, man, I applaud you for this meeting at this day and time. And for me, man, I'm with the program. I'm with y'all. I'm with y'all. Always been with y'all. I was with y'all before y'all. Some of y'all was even on the planet. So it's a good, you know what I'm saying? So know where I'm at, brother, all the time.
Isn't that interesting? You said something that caught my attention. So beforehand, it used to be don't say anything because you will lose your sponsors. So we don't want you to speak because we'll lose money. Now we pushing people to say something so we don't lose money.
Did you see the Nike ad?
No,
Have you seen the man? I seen that. I say for real, and that's the part. That's the part where I'm saying, okay, do y'all think that black people are so desperate to have your stamp of approval? Man, please, y'all probably. How many Nike? You ain't had jack to say about how many children died from getting your gym shoes. You didn't put a fund. You didn't put an insurance policy in that box with that MJ shoe and say, if anybody kills your son or daughter, you got $1 million insurance policy, because we know this shoe is deadly for some in the community. We ain't had nothing to say, but now all of a sudden you want to be, this is what it came out to be. They job is just do it. Now it's don't just do it. Okay, cool. I got y'all on there. You feel me? And that's how stupid we supposed to be as black people.
Right.
That now y'all can just flip the script right there. Look, I'm telling black folks, look, it's our time it's time for us to manufacture our own job wherever we stand. Everything you got on, brother, everything I got on, we supposed to produce it. We have the wisdom, we have the talents, we have the wherewithal to do it. Now, those were the things that I was asking in the 90s of both my brothers, who were the major impactors. And now we have to study that. At that point in time, it was brought on to them brothers, you got to be apolitical. You can't stand on anything that's going to be urban oriented, because Magic and Bird, you set the stage of coming out of the crumbling of the league in the 70s, because it was too black and brothers was wearing chain ropes and doing their thing, and white people wasn't consuming the league. So the league needed that Magic and Bird competition, that black and white thing that America so loves to see, who is the best, white or black. And now you have two willing competitors who can buy into it. From a end of their endorsement is going to be with Converse, and Converse is going to make this big thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
And they do it. And then I think about years forward, I'm coaching with the Lakers, and to show you how God works, LeBron, remember when they had the little Muppets with LeBron and Kobe?
Yeah. Uh-huh.
And now it show you how God works. That was they had this whole thing built up for the finals. They had already did the commercials. I'm working with Kobe as their shooting coach, and he's telling me about this whole thing. And he was saying the whole time, yeah, we're going to be there, but LeBron ain't going to be there, you know? And it wound up just like that. That, you know, these operators, man, and that's what I call them, operators, and they've been purveyors of their wealth and all of that to a couple of our people, and then our people go out and put this impossible motto in front of black children for whatever reason, and not telling them the chances of you being a professional athlete, you got better chance to go out and catch lightning in a jar. You know what I'm saying? Right. But at the same time, I'm not going to stop you from pursuing something that you love doing, whether it be baseball, football, track, or whatever. Pursue that, but understand it from a student athleticism end, not from an end where you can be exploited and not have anything to fall back on after you're done playing.
Yeah, and do you think the responsibility of speaking out should be put on athletes of today so they have a platform?
Check this out. You know, and that's the decision that we who are who love black people, whatever entity, whatever endeavor we're in, bus driver, post, whatever. We love black. So we black, number one. That everything rolls off of that. So I'm a black brother who plays sports and writes, and that don't change. And I think that's the part where, unlike other nations of people, we have been so indoctrinated into the Americanism and not the African part of it, that I can't speak to my Africanness because it's going to have a problem and it's going to affect my bottom line when I go into corporate America. And that's been a thing where we have to change that dynamic where our children who grow up, they grow up with that African culture along with where we at, because we shouldn't be ashamed to say that America is part of our fabric, because our people died here more than anybody else. So we got a right to say that and claim this. And in claiming that, we got to be able to find the righteous history and blend that together. So we were taught at Long Beach State that we got to rescue and reconstruct our history and do that in a manner that our young folks can see the value in it. So you never leave from that. You never waver from that. It's not been a day, man, since I've been 18 years old where I've been considered the condition of black people. So when I think about that compared to some of my athletes like MJ or somebody else who's totally focused on basketball, going to get 40 points, going to get 50, that's easy compared to the salvation and redeeming your people, man. And especially when a lot of our people don't even know that we're in the condition that we're in.
Yeah, no, that's true. And it makes me think about, especially with the NFL now, with them coming out and saying that Kaepernick, I think one of the former NFL execs, he was the former vice president for communications for the NFL, came out, and we all knew, but he came out and said, yeah, it was Kaepernick. Kaepernick was basically blackballed, and they didn't. Reason why no teams won them because they didn't want that distraction or costing them money.
Yeah.
With the NFL players hearing this, and then even when Pete Carroll, the Seattle Seahawks coach, came out and said that we need to apologize to Colin. So with all of that, wouldn't you think this would be the perfect time for the NFL players to come out and protest, not just get on one knee?
And that's my position, man, is that at which point in time are we gonna quit playing games? All right, these are games. Understanding the business side of it, okay? But these are games that affect the generational on all sides, generational justice, generational equality, generational wealth. It affects all of that. So at which point in time am I big enough to say, you know what, man, I can give up this game. I might have to give it up for the rest of my life. Am I willing to do that? What are we willing to do? Baseball, basketball, football. I see where the NBA coaches got together on Saturday and had a conference call about racial equality. Half of them was my colleagues when I played and didn't have nothing to say. So if Colin Kaepernick is getting his justice based on football, when y'all gonna holler at Mahmoud Abdul-Rauf and Craig Hodges? When is that gonna happen? Or do you want to really sit down and have a conversation about during the time when y'all was blacklisting us, y'all had a avowed racist in the league that y'all gave $2 billion golden parachute to, but don't nobody want to talk about that. When I look at black brothers putting on an I Can't Breathe t-shirt, okay, we can't breathe, but now we take the I Can't Breathe t-shirt off and we wearing their uniforms again. At which point in time are we mature enough to stand up on our blackness, on our history as kings, on our history as warriors, and say, you know what, we are playing a white man's game in the first place. Let's stop. Let's stop and look at this thing. If it wasn't white folks paying us to play, would you really be playing? So now when other black people have to change their whole paradigm on how they're going to earn a living because of this COVID-19 and now the riots and the rebellion and the like, can we make that same sacrifice as athletes and entertainers and change our paradigm to go into the community and work with black people to change the lives of generational black people? It's time for us to wake up and be men about this thing, man, and quit being the most selfish group of black people on the face of the earth is the African-American black man in America. That's the millionaire. That's the wealthy. That's the wealthiest and selfish class because they learn They learned their wealth and their privilege of their wealth from white people who didn't love them, who don't like the people where they come from. But we'll utilize you, Michael Jordan, Magic Johnson, all the others that have been used and utilized, including myself, including the National Basketball Players Association, Football Association, all of us who have collaborated with white supremacy racism so that we might be able to make a living for ourselves and turn a blind eye to the masses of our people who are being discriminated against every single day. But since I make my wealth, I come back and holler at y'all after I get this billion. After I get this billion, I come holler. And at that point in time, do we really need you? Where you been? What can you do for us now? Or are you bringing something that the enemy is telling you to bring over to our folks again? So I got very little tolerance for it right now at 59, brother, and I'm getting ready to be 60 on June 27th, and I know what it's going to be at 60. That at 60, I'm going to have no tolerance for it because it's time out for it, man. We've been tolerant with it for how long?
Forever. Yeah, no, I'm with you. And speaking of Cap, the news came out with Drew Brees. Drew Brees came, I think it was Yahoo. I can't remember, Yahoo News. I forgot who it was, but they talking to him and asked him about a statement he said before, and he said that, you know, yet still he don't like inequality, and he think that it should be unity, and he feels sorry for what happened to George Floyd and all of that, but yet still he felt like, he said he would never agree with anybody that disrespects the flag.
Now this is the thing, man, about Drew Brees. I'm not going. This is what I'm going to say about him. He hasn't studied enough about how the American flag has affected you and I as African American people. You have not considered the depth of the pain and suffering that has occurred under a flag that we have held up as esteem, that we're going to get rights, we're going to be equal, we're going to get all of the things, to the point where we have never armed ourselves on a mass level like you see in Venezuela, like you see in Chile, like you see all these other places on earth, face of earth, because we are the most spiritual people on the planet. We went through enslavement because our grandmamas taught us spirituality. That it's a sister named Sweet Alice down in Georgia, and she said there's no way we can move out and talk about doing hurt and pain to the enemy when it's about love and justice, and I can't get love and justice by doing two wrongs don't make a right. So within the context of that, Drew Brees, I appreciate that, man, but we don't need that. We need you to be truthful about looking into the history of what your ancestors have perpetrated, and then, so you got to, Drew, for you, perpetrator, collaborator, and victim. That's the three parts of history that you got to look at. Who was the perpetrator? Who collaborated with him? Who was the victim? History is always told from the perpetrator's perspective. Then we got those collaborators who are now university professors, who are now that static for those who are wealthy and elite. And we can throw our athletes and entertainers in that bucket, because until we are truthful about where our energies are going, where our economics are going, how can we think that we're going to foster a future for our babies that's liberating, that's refreshing, that is something that they want to be about? Because if you look at, when I look at the athlete, all you can talk about is our athleticism. You know what I mean? When you look at Michael Jordan, when you look at Magic, they're not comparing them to Jim Browns. They're not comparing them to Wood Ali and Kareem Abdul-Jabbar and the brothers during the 60s and the economic campaign. We ain't never did that. Why we did that? Why Magic and MJ got together and say, man, we billionaires, dude? Why we can't bring together all the athletes? Come on, man. Come on, brother. We making this thing like it's brain science, and you know it, and I know. It ain't nothing but opening your mouth and stand on what your ancestors told you to stand on, and that's stand up for the people who died before you, man, and allowed you to get that bread.
And before we let you go, right now, let's say if the the cops, they get the hammer thrown at them. They get the worst of the worst, right?
Yeah.
But that just can't be it. What do we need to do to keep this movement going, to change these laws and everything like that?
Yeah. And when you talk about movement, and I'm like I said, I'm a student athlete still to this day, man. So I think of things on both strategies and hoop and all of that. So I look at it like this. The only time you don't have momentum is when you don't have it. All right.
Mm-hmm.
We know we have momentum now. How do we maintain that? We have to maintain that through organizational strategies. We have to organize ourselves with ourselves on whatever level, whatever passion. There is somebody Black that has that passion that you find. Now we have to make sure that our young folks who find this passion and see this passion in one of us, we have to be able to teach them how to go about doing whatever it is they're passionate about. Man, we were blessed in the 60s because the pressure was coming from every place else. So you had mentors, you had people who were in the community doing things to be able to uplift you, to get you to understand, boy, you got to go to school and you got to do this and that. Where a lot of the programmatic stuff within the community is gone now. That support system, that safety, that would, even though we was at the park playing with older brothers, they taught us how to respect people off the court. We might be talking crazy as young brothers, but the older head said, yo, man, let me come over and holler at you. You got a future in this thing. If I see you hanging out with these boys over here, we're going to have a problem. And that's the type of, that whole, stereotypical, it takes a village to raise a child. No, man, this is some real things. It takes people. It takes people who are passionate about what we're doing. And let me say this in closing, brother. It ain't going to take a lot of us because you got this social media platform. You know what I'm saying? MREC TV got his platform. I see young brothers and sisters, Sister Amina on MREC. It's off the chain, man, that, it's information that's flowing now that was never ever able to flow to our people. So when I hear people talk about, oh, this happened before. No, it hasn't. It hasn't happened before, nor has it had the ability to have streaming like this to be able to keep that momentum going, brother. So what I'm telling you is that every one of these episodes that you are having is important in keeping that momentum and that flow going, because it's going to attract. It's going to attract. And it's young brothers and sisters who are looking. They're not looking at CNN, NBC. They ain't looking at that garbage, man. That was our generation that was tied to it one way or the other because we had to have it. That's dead now. And I just say that, we are blessed to be in this day and time. And what looks chaotic is in fact liberating, y'all. So understand and understand that during this thing, man, this is our liberation, and it's been prophesied, and now we are blessed. Not that we deserve it. Let me make us know this. Not that we deserve it, but we're blessed and privileged and grateful to be in this day and time to receive the divine inheritance that our ancestors spoke of that would come. We're actually here to receive it. And now once you get it, make sure that you put a plan together that's going to affect people and do no harm.
And there you have it. You talked about it just real quick. You said that jumper, it ain't like it used to be, but it's still wet though, right?
Oh, brother, we can go shoot right now. We can go shoot right now. I might not be able to chase you around, but right now it'll take me, okay. I tell people when I'm working with my shooters, at the end of me doing the session, we had this thing where it's the first one to 25.
Mm.
And most of the time they'll start off because you've been working out. I ain't had no shots. So I might, and I don't say miss. My ball might not go in the first 3 or 4 times or whatever. But then the next time they touch it, it might be, I had 15. You know what I'm saying? So it goes in that row. But I tell people when I'm actually working out to shoot, I'm not warm until after 50 shots, man. And then it's about making 300, 400 and take it home.
All right, there y'all have it. Mr. Craig Hodges, man, I appreciate you for coming on.
Brother, I appreciate you for the invite. And once again, man, Etan is definitely going to hook up with you. I spoke to him today, and he said he would have loved to come on, but he had the CNN thing going, and that's part of that momentum you're speaking about, that we got to have brothers and sisters who can go out and get a message on that national front while we delivering it on that intermediate and local level, man. It's got to, that's the momentum base, brother.
Yes, sir. And since you mentioned him, Mahmoud told me to tell you that He said he couldn't. He wanted to do it today. He couldn't. He said we're gonna set up another time, but he said, hey, give him out guards.
See, and that's the cool thing about this thing, man. We relay racing.
Right.
So brother pass the baton, I'll pass it to him, you pass it on, and then next time around, this time next month, I'll be back at you, brother.
Right.
Everybody, and that's why I say, man, even in this crazy time, I'm just telling you that when we won our first championship, brother, and like now I'm getting chills, that it's a palpable feeling, brother, before it happens. That in all these things, it's a certain vision that happens before the physical happens. So I'm telling my people that we're in line for a championship that's beyond anything that we can imagine, and be prepared for it, and don't be surprised by it, and just stay centered in the Most High.
All right. Yes, sir. Thank you. Thank you
Peace,
everyone
peace.
for listening. And hey, next week we'll have somebody again. So check us out. It's Mr. Controversy, Craig Hodges. Will you miss me? I'm out. Peace.
Peace.